Yeah, the word I thought of was patience, and the gardener certainly had patience, and I do think too that part of repenting is making it actionable. Not just being sorry for something, but sort of doing something about it. But sometimes doing nothing is doing something. And in this case, the gardener, I felt like was that he wanted to work on it a little bit, but not necessarily take the drastic action that the impatient, landowner wanted to do.
I think a lot about, God's love for me, like my love for my children. And, there are times when you want to say, all right, I'm done. I've had it. Like, forget it. There's no more. But if you keep working with it, even though it's not bearing fruit, but if you, keep providing that love and nurturance that you hope and you trust,
and you wait with
and
patience.
you wait with patience that your children will come around.
They will.
Excuse me. Yeah, they will. Hopefully, with trust. But I think you need that nurturing piece. And I think coming to church, at least it does that for me, being in church and centering me on Sunday mornings. And even though I have screwed up some during the week, or screwed up a lot during the week, that it kind of brings me back, it kind of grounds me a little bit and gives me that encouragement to do the best I can.
One thing I think is important in this is, we're all sinners.
Yeah.
And God's not kind of ranking who's a bigger sinner or a lesser sinner among us. We all need to repent, and we all need to get better. And your discussion of your children reminded me of a work situation where a guy that works with us, a young man, a year ago I was like, I've had enough. I kind of wanted to let him go. And I probably didn't because I didn't find an alternative. I just felt like he was, not that he was doing a bad job, but he wasn't achieving his potential, And yet a year later, he really contributed to some things that enabled some success for us, and he was directly responsible for that. And sometimes people just need to be nurtured or given time to get comfortable and to shine. And I'd like to say I did that intentionally, but I didn't.
Well, so coming back, so in your situation, you needed patience to wait.
Yes.
And the trust, the hope it would work out. I don't think there's any guarantee.
There isn't.
But I think we're each called to do our best.
Yes.
And we're always given another chance. Well, excuse me. Hopefully.
Yeah.
Well, it's almost like, if you let me tend to it and love on it a little bit, you're going to see. And if you think about the manure, like an analogy like God's love, and putting yourself in an environment where you're learning and your faith is growing, you're not going to have to cut it down.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me.
Yeah, it's interesting that you use the manure analogy too, because that's waste and that's a byproduct that you want to throw away, yet it has life. It creates life.
So all of what you all said kind of tied together with what I was thinking, and not right off when I read it, but after I thought about it for a while, is that all of this involves trust. Trust that God's love will not discern who's good and who's bad. For instance, the Pilate's soldiers who defiled the temple or the tower that fell on top of people and were crushed. But it will be not dependent upon what we do, but how, as you say, what's in our hearts. And the second part of the story, the gardener is going to trust that fig tree with a little manure and a little water and a little attention to be able to do its work. And with trust, I think, I'm wondering if intentionally that story ends without our knowing what happens.
Mhm.
And I think we're called to trust that the tree will get its act together and
Right.
bear fruit.
Well, and I think the time factor too, when he talks about 3 years and 1 year,
Mhm.
it's so hard for us sometimes to not be fundamental in thinking that means the same time as a year for us, because I think, Jesus talks in these kind of parables where you have to figure out, you can't take them necessarily exactly as they're written. It's
Right.
the idea, and, I don't know I don't think God would, in 1 year, if the fig tree weren't blooming, he would say, cut it down, I'm done with you.
Mhm.
I think that's where the trust comes in, that God knows, and Jesus knows that if you nurture something and love something, and help point something in the right direction and guide it, that you're going to see fruit bear.
Right.
That's a guarantee. It just may not be in 1 year on our time. It may take many years to
Yeah.
see that, And that's where
Remember,
patience and
parables
trust.
and metaphors, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But usually when fruit comes once, it keeps coming every
Yeah,
year,
uh-huh,
right?
uh-huh.
And so
And
it
it
gets,
gets
you
more.
grow and it grows and there's more of it
Till it doesn't.
till it doesn't. But I'm going to visualize that this tree grew fruit in the 3rd year or 4th year.
Because why
It's-
not?
Why not?
Why not trust?
Why not?
Yeah,
Right. That's right.
I like that.